political or economic event. Radio Algeria International, our voice in the world.
This is the English service of Radio Algeria International. It's time for the news.
Algeria is celebrating the 70th anniversary of setting her question on the agenda of the UN General Assembly on the 30th of September 1955, marking a historic turning point in the struggle for independence. And the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Ahmed Attaf, has hailed the momentum the Palestinian cause is gaining thanks to the wave of recognitions without ruling out the danger the cause still faces at different levels. And the diplomacy chief also said that Mali cannot be reduced to the junta that envisions the future of the country only to say or to stay in power and dominate Malian people. And those were the major developments. Now the full news edition. I'm Asya Bakar. Good afternoon. The setting of the Algerian question on the agenda of the United Nations General Assembly on the 30th of September 1955 is a highly symbolic date that marked a historic turning point in the struggle for independence, notably characterized by the tireless diplomatic efforts of the National Liberation Front to internationalize the Algerian cause. The details with Jamal Salmani.
On that historic day in 1955, the international community paved the way for the first time to an official debate on the Algerian people's right to self-determination, thereby giving international legitimacy to a struggle that had until then been considered by the then colonial France as a mere international affair. Thanks to the support of Arab and Asian countries and the newly decolonized Afro-Asian bloc, the Algerian question was officially on the agenda of the United Nations General Assembly. This major diplomatic victory rewarded the FLN's efforts to internationalize the Algerian cause, which had begun a few months earlier at the Bandung Conference in April 1955. Indeed, 1 year after the outbreak of the glorious War of National Liberation on the 1st of November 1954, the leaders of the revolution decided to wage, in addition to the armed struggle, a diplomatic campaign with the idea of openly calling for independence as stated by the founding members of the FLN, with the aim of making the Algerian question a reality for the whole world, with the support of all our national allies. By deploying all their efforts on the international stage, a group of activists with great potential led by Hussein Ait Ahmed, Mohamed Yazid and Abdel Qadir Shanderli succeeded in getting Algeria participate for the first time to the Bandung Conference, attended by several heads of state such as former Indonesian President Sukarno and former Indian Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru, who had been converted to the national cause.
You're still listening to Radio Algeria International, and the Minister of State in charge of Foreign Affairs, the National Community Abroad and African Affairs, Ahmed Attaf, has affirmed in New York that Algeria's mandate at the United Nations Security Council was a mandate of loyalty to the values and principles enshrined in the Charter of the United Nations, as wanted by the President of the Republic, Mr. Abdelmajid Tebboune. Mr. Attaf said Algeria is concluding its 2-year term as a non-permanent member of the UN Security Council, recalling the honor of being elected by the General Assembly and expressing hope that even modestly the country has met the responsibility it has been entrusted with. He said President Tebboune wanted Algeria's Security Council mandate to reflect its loyalty to the principles and identity, noting that Algeria has never gave up, although all its goals have not been met.
لقد أراد رئيس الجمهورية السيد عبد المجيد تبون
The President of the Republic, Mr. Abdelmajid Tebboune, has wanted that Algeria's mandate at the Security Council be a mandate of loyalty to the values and principles enshrined in the Charter of the United Nations, loyalty to Algeria's Arab, Islamic and African belonging, and loyalty to Algeria's identity and to its history of struggle for freedom and emancipation. We tried and spared no effort. We succeeded at certain stages and we did not achieve our goals at others. But we never gave up or even surrendered to the fait accompli.
يوما للأمر الواقع.
Mr. Attaf said Algeria works with full commitment alongside the African 8W+ group and in collaboration with partners within the framework of the group of elected members and friendly countries, adding that while the Security Council failed to address crucial challenges, it also failed to silence the voice of the international conscience as expressed by an absolute majority of member countries. Meanwhile, Ahmed Attaf has hailed the momentum the Palestinian cause is gaining thanks to the wave of recognitions without ruling out the danger the cause still faces at different levels. Speaking at the high-level segment of the UN General Assembly in New York, the Algerian diplomacy chief commended the recognition of different countries of the state of Palestine, reiterating Algeria's call for granting Palestine full membership at the UN.
We welcome the growing momentum of diplomatic recognition for the state of Palestine. We reiterate the call made by President Abdelmajid Tebboune for guaranteeing full membership to this state of Palestine in the United Nations. The entire world must realize that the creation of the state of Palestine is not an option, but an inescapable necessity. It is not a favor, but a legitimate and fundamental right. It is not a request, but an essential and indispensable condition for restoring security throughout the entire Middle East region.
And despite this growing optimism, the Algerian foreign minister said the Palestinian cause is still facing the danger of its obliteration by the Israeli occupation, adding that Israel's ambitions are not limited to Palestine.
This cause is currently facing the greatest danger in its history, the threat of its complete obliteration through the annexation of land, the displacement of its people, the undermining of its legitimate institutions, and the destruction of the internationally agreed upon two-state solution. Moreover, the danger no longer stops at the borders of Palestine, now that the Israeli occupation has openly declared its intention to revive and implement what it calls the Greater Israel Project. Algeria is following the ongoing negotiations under the auspices of the United States with great interest, with the aim of ending the tragedy unfolding in Gaza. Algeria encourages these efforts and sincerely hopes that they will lead to an end of the suffering in Gaza, paving the way for a genuine resolution to all the root causes of the Israel-Palestinian conflict.
Mr. Attaf then returned to the role of the United Nations in dealing with the current mayhem caused by the Israeli occupation, stressing that the UN should shoulder its responsibility and honor its commitment to international law.
Our United Nations organization stands paralyzed, its voice silenced, and its role marginalized. Its enshrined principles are violated, and its adopted resolutions remain unenforceable. The multilateralism is established is undermined by unilateral actions and isolationist tendencies. The responsibility, therefore, rests on us, the member states, to reaffirm our commitment to the international law, to ensure the effectiveness of multilateral international cooperation, and to empower the United Nations to regain its rightful place as the heart of an international system based on the rule of law.
And those were the statements of the Algerian diplomacy chief Ahmed Attaf in New York, expressing Algeria's concern over the UN paralysis in dealing with thorny issues, notably the Palestinian-Israeli conflict. And separately, Ahmed Attaf in the same meeting condemned Malian junta members for again attacking Algeria at the UN, calling their remarks a meaningless rant deserving only contempt and disgust, and said that they should instead focus on restoring security, improving living standards, and ensuring good governance rather than blaming others for their failures.
The heights of baseness, vulgarity and rudeness reached by this false poet, but real putschists, are nothing but the meaningless rant of a mercenary. His gutter chatter deserves only contempt and inspires only disgust. I repeat, the heights of baseness, vulgarity, cornice reached by this false poet, but real putschists are nothing but the meaningless rant of a mercenary. His gutter chatter deserves only contempt and inspires only disgust.
He stressed that Mali deserves better than conspiratorial putschist and cannot be reduced to a junta clinging to power, while affirming that the hand of Algeria remains extended to its Malian brothers and reiterating Algeria's commitment to security, stability and stronger relations within the Sahel-Saharan region. As for the Sahel-Saharan region, Mr. Attaf reiterated Algeria's full commitment to security, stability and stronger relations with its neighbors.
As for the Sahel-Saharan region, Algeria reiterates its full commitment and utmost concern for the security and stability of its neighborhood and for building the best, strongest and most beneficial relations with all its brothers and neighbors.
Concerning the Libyan crisis, Mr. Attaf said the crisis deepens due to foreign meddling, stressing that it is time to end foreign interference.
The Libyan crisis deepens and becomes more complicated day by day in light of the warning international attention to it and the absence of any real prospects for the desired peaceful settlement. 14 years after the outbreak of this crisis, this brotherly country is still hostage to divisions that are fueled, nourished and exploited by foreign interventions according to schemes that have nothing to do with the good of Libya, nor with its security, nor with its stability. If the matter had been in the hands of the Libyans and the Libyans alone, they would have long since managed to overcome their differences and pave the way for settlement of the crisis. The time has come to put a definitive end to foreign interventions in Libyan affairs.
And to Western Sahara, Mr. Attaf stressed that any solution must be UN-led based on direct Morocco-Polisario talks agreed on by the two parties in consistence with decolonization and to ensure the Sahrawis' right to self-determination.
The genuine solution sought for this conflict must, in our point of view, be governed by 5 main principles. First, that this solution takes place under the full and permanent auspices of the United Nations. Second, that this solution be based on direct negotiations between the two parties at issue, the Kingdom of Morocco and the Polisario Front. Third, that this solution be the product and outcome of the two parties to the conflict, not an imposition or dictate by either of them or by any other parties. Fourth, that this solution in its substance meet the requirements of the UN doctrine of decolonization and the justice owed to people subjected to it. Fifth and finally, that this solution lead to enabling the Sahrawi people to effectively exercise their right to self-determination in accordance with the relevant United Nations resolutions.
That was the Minister of State in charge of Foreign Affairs and National Community Abroad and African Affairs, Ahmed Attaf. The UN Security Council has met to discuss the Middle East crisis and protection of civilians in conflict as speculation grows about a potential deal to end the aggression on Gaza. Algeria's delegate has said that in Gaza, the Palestinian wound deepens by a brutal occupation that left no method in the playbook of tyrants without imposing them on the Palestinian people until death has become a wish and not a fear.
In Gaza, the Palestinian wound deepens, and with it, pain and suffering deepens. That pain and suffering caused by a brutal occupation that left no method in the playbook of tyrants without imposing them on the Palestinian people until death has become a wish and not a fear. People are being killed as they see their children and their parents and their loved ones killed, and as they see the killing of what was once a sign of life. death has become the companion of the living. Palestinians are living an endless death, but it is a death without dying. The horrific numbers on the suffering of the people of Gaza fill our reports, and those who deny them or question them are only complicit to this crime. We can say that the occupation has turned Gaza into the worst place a person can live.
And Algeria's representative said that it is a duty to enable Palestinians to exercise their legal rights and establish their state, adding that it must be done before no land remains upon which Palestine could be set up. Meanwhile, the permanent observer of the State of Palestine said that there is a collective duty to bring the suffering of the Palestinians to an end, detailing the dark reality of life in Palestine under Israel's illegal occupation.
We have a duty to bring this suffering to an end, collective duty, and to do it in a way that leads to an end of the occupation and conflict once and for all. So our people never experience such pain and loss again, and all people can live in peace and security. We have been confronted as a nation with the denial of our rights, with an attempt that continues to this day to push us out of geography and history, to deny our existence, our belonging to the land, our rights as human beings and as a people. All peoples are endowed with a certain rights, known as inalienable rights. And our people are not less worthy and are not less entitled to them. The reality our people continue to endure is one of death and devastation, dispossession and colonization, despair and displacement. But this reality is man-made, occupation-made.
For his part, the Deputy Special Coordinator for the Middle East Peace Process, United Nations resident and humanitarian coordinator Ramiz Alakbarov presented the Secretary General's report on the implementation of the Council Resolution 2334 of 2016, which calls on the Israeli occupation to immediately and completely cease all settlement activity in the occupied Palestinian territory, including East Jerusalem, and to fully respect all its legal obligations in this regard. You still listen to Radio Algeria International, and at least 18 Palestinians have been killed in bombardments carried out by the Israeli occupation against various parts of the Gaza Strip. Scores of others have been wounded in the relentless Israeli attacks targeting the Palestinian territory for nearly 2 years now. And back to Sudan now, UN humanitarian agencies have said that the situation in Al-Fashir, the capital of North Darfur state in western Sudan, is deteriorating as the siege tightens. The UN Office for Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs, OCHA, said satellite imagery shows that the barricades surrounding the city now extend for more than 68 kilometers, reducing the remaining space to just 3 or 4 kilometers, further limiting access to and from the area. It added that the images also show large groups of people trying to flee on foot from the area encircled by the barricades. Local sources reported that civilians attempting to leave the city are facing violence, harassment, and looting along dangerous routes. OCHA once again called for the protection of civilians in Al-Fashir in accordance with international humanitarian law and for ensuring safe passage for those who wish to leave. The agency said the humanitarian situation was also dire in the Kordofan region, where the conflict has restricted access to food, essential supplies, and humanitarian aid. And with this, we come to the end of today's bulletin. I invite you now to listen to our health magazine, compiled and presented by Mohammed Khatal.
Hello and welcome to this new edition of